Okay, now Academy did have some less expensive equipment. You can get a tent for about $40. I didn't get one because I still wanted to see, to make up my mind, right? I was going to buy this fan lantern if the price seemed reasonable. The price was reasonable, but what I didn't like is the fact that the lamp required two D-sized batteries. I was like, yeah. It would have been nice if they had like the battery as a backup and then be able to charge it, with a USB, But I did see this, and this was how much? $14.06 with tax. The last time I went and bought like a $9 container of off, right? And it was good for mosquitoes, but the other day I ran into it was like a biting fly. It looked like a fly. It could have been some form of mosquito, but it bit me. It didn't make my skin welt the same way that, mosquitoes would make me welt when they bite me. So I'm gonna try this one out. Now she said, you can use citronella on the fire, right? And I hadn't really thought about, just, lighting up citronella by itself. I only thought about doing it, in a candle, right? Now, yesterday when it rained, it only rained off and on, sprinkling kind of rain, not that hard rain that we had got previously where, you could flood in like 5 minutes. But yeah, so there's viruses that you can get just from mosquito bites. It says the Zika, West Nile, Dingy, and Kikunjandroi, whatever viruses. I don't even know how to say that one, but yeah. So those viruses may not kill you, but they can make you sick. Okay? And we ain't trying to be sick at all. Not at all. So see how this works. They had them in the wipes, and I was gonna buy the wipes. Then they also had like a smaller size that you can just carry, about that big. And a bigger size was this one. Like I said, it was this size here. It's it's 4 ounces. It's 4 ounces. 4 ounces of 98% Deet is $14. So yeah, I did see a tent at Academy that I think I might like. It was small and large enough, and yeah. Light enough, not too complicated. You know, the less complicated a tent is, the more money it costs. You know, I have forgotten about the mat that I had bought from Deet's. I had bought a mat from Deet's that cost like $9, and it was probably about an inch and a half thick. I had completely forgot about it. I had put it upstairs, and you know, I totally forgot about it. But I have that I can use. So all I need to do is find out where that air mattress is leaking and patch that up, and then I'll have an air mattress. And you know, as far as, you know, absolutely needing, you know, a sleeping bag, you know, the main concern would be not letting anything under the covers with you, which is why, you know, a person would really want a sleeping bag. Yeah, I got my creative juices flowing right now, you know, because I did buy some emergency tents that also insulate heat that I could sew into a blanket, zip it, you know, put a zipper on it, and then that way, you know, I won't necessarily have to worry about anything getting in. And then if I wanted to cover, you know, parts of my head, I could have a tie string around the top of the blanket. So, yeah. So really all I would need is a tent. And I can get a tent for under $40. Whereas, you know, at REI, you know, it had a better quality tent based off of what they were saying. But my whole thing was, you know, to first look and see what's available, see what people have to say about certain types of tents. I did watch a lot of different people who was, you know, living out of their vans and car camping, and you know, actually, you know, doing promos. But you know, they obviously had a bigger budget than I had. So even that lantern that required two D-size batteries that also was a lamp and a fan, that would be okay if you had, like, say, rechargeable batteries. Then you can recharge the batteries and then utilize it that way. But I've had my experiences when it came to, like, lights that require, batteries, and thinking, oh yeah, you can just buy batteries, but then over time, these batteries, it costs, it adds up. And I do have some fixture. I did asphyxiate some lights outside that required batteries that I don't use anymore because they required batteries. So yeah, the struggle is real, and I think the first thing, I think I got bit by a mosquito. The first thing that I want to do is use some of this Deet spray. Ooh, this Deet, I'm telling you, is strong. But a lot of times, you can feel sick, not know why you feel sick, because you got infected by a mosquito that gave you a virus. Okay? Now, it may not be so severe that it lays you out, but it can affect your immune and your energy. So, yeah. So now I'm headed back to the house, to think about, constructing this, sleeping bag using an old blanket, an old comforter, and because the whole thing, my mind was, okay, always, have a backup plan. Always have a backup plan. So I went from, okay, $100 backup plan to now, wait a minute. You have some things that you can use. You just have to figure out, like the air mattress. I just have to figure out where the air mattress is leaking. So I'm going to have to dip that into some water and find out where the hole is. It's a slow leak, so I'm not really sure. It could have happened. My dog may have punctured a hole in the mattress. So if I can patch up that air mattress, that's a done dollar, right? Not even. It wouldn't take much. At the very least, I do have the roll-up mat that I can use from the cold ground, or whatever, even if it's a wet ground, that mattress will keep me from getting the dampness from the ground. Now, do I have a tent in my garage? I don't know. I was in the garage yesterday looking around, and I did find some tent. That's something that I could, that's a project that I could work on. And also figure out, the best way to put it on, which it seems like the best way to put it on is to actually put the tent on the outside. I've put the tent on the inside before myself. I did that on my Camaro. I think I had put on like 2 layers of tent. Got stopped by the police. The police gave me a ticket. Told me that I can avoid the fine if I go down to the police department and show them that I had removed the tent. I removed the tent. Didn't have to pay the fine. Okay? Alright. Because I had tinted the whole car. Now, I'm also wondering if I could get an exemption from dark tint, because I've had cancer before, and I believe that if you've had cancer and you can get your doctor to justify, dark tint, that you could bypass the law of not being able to have dark tint, because it was prescribed by your doctor that you're more susceptible to cancer. Therefore, of having cancer before, therefore, you're excused to have the dark tint. So that's something else that I want to look into, is to see if, I can also qualify for dark tinting on the entire vehicle. Yeah, because I'm telling you, we have overcast right now, and my temperature gauge says 89 degrees. So it's humid as F. And even though we're not in direct sunlight, the humidity makes it feel a hell of a lot warmer than if it was dry heat. So yeah. So I have to roll up the windows, blast the AC. We're almost home, so she can cool off. I kept her in the car, kept the car on, so that she could get some cold air. I would not have left her in the car in these kind of temperatures. without air. So she had the air on and the windows down. And so whenever she would get too hot, she would come up here to the middle and allow the cool air to cool her down from the front. Just in case y'all was wondering. And I wasn't worried about my car taking off anywhere. It's an electrical car. Even if they were to try to go, they would not get very far because the car's not going to operate without having the key present. I'm not sure how far you have to go, what distance you have to be from the car before the car would actually shut off. Yeah. So, I've learned some things today. I have some ideas. And it makes me feel a little bit more secure because I was feeling a little anxious about, being prepared, just in case the unforeseeable happened. What would that be? Well, that would be if somehow or another, I was to lose my residence. Now, that wouldn't be like an instantaneous overnight type of situation. No, it would not. It would actually be like a tsunami. It would be a slow erosion. It wouldn't just like, bam, you're out now, you're out, right? No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't even be like a tidal wave where you don't pay your rent on the 1st, you get evicted on the 30th, you got to move out by the 10th. No. For those people, yeah, that's a sad situation, right? Heartbreaking. Now, in my case, it would not happen that way. In my case, I think it would take at least 6 to 9 months for them to actually foreclose on me. And then, yeah. Maybe even 9 months. But even through a foreclosure, you got up to 2 years to get your home back. So, videos, when people were going online and letting them know that, oh my gosh, they've just gotten evicted. My heart goes out to you. You'll have people telling you, don't worry about it, that you can do Uber Eats or Uber or DoorDash or Instacart or all of these other, gig jobs. But even to do those jobs, you have to have people that are willing to pay for delivery. And when people aren't willing to pay for delivery, they're not going to get their stuff delivered. Now, speaking of delivery, if you are on SSI, which is Social Security income, not necessarily Social Security disability, Social Security income, you can qualify for the Walmart delivery membership. Walmart Plus, and not have to worry about it, because you'll get that for half price. Instead of $18 a month, you can get it for half price, $7 a month. So you can still get your delivery, you can still get your groceries delivered to you for $7 a month, as opposed to $14 a month. I found that out, and I thought that was great, because when you're on a fixed income, $14 is a lot of money. So I had paid a year membership, and when I switched over to the Walmart Assist, they're going to refund me back my money that I paid for the year membership, and then I'm going to go on and pay the monthly half price membership. What else can I tell you? So yeah, you want to wish for the best. Do what you can do now, and then prepare for the worst, just as a backup plan. Also, when it comes to like your car repairs, oil changes, car maintenance, gasoline, if you're a gig worker, keep those receipts and write them off on your taxes as part of your cost of doing business. Alright? Because I did look that up. If you need to buy some tires, or you get a flat, or you have to pay for towing service, all of that is a cost of doing business. Okay? So yeah, it was a productive day, I think. So yeah, I guess I could use this water in this in here. Just blow up the air mattress again and find out where the leak is, and just keep finding out to see if there's air bubbles coming out and where they're coming out from. I had woke up early today and decided, not to fry that whole chicken and to boil most of the chicken. I cut off the wings because I like my wings fried. So yeah, it's less calories with the baked, with the boiled chicken, and then it softens up the bones so that my dog can eat the bones. So I'm happy about that. Yeah, no worries, right?